When the pack's most broken Omega kneels at a forgotten altar, begging for mercy she doesn't deserve, the moon goddess answers not with comfort, but with fire. And now, every wolf who ever scorned her will learn that divine favor doesn't ask for permission. The stone was cold beneath Nara's knees, but she didn't feel it anymore. She didn't feel much of anything, not the way the frost bit through her thin ceremonial dress, not the sting of fresh claw marks across her shoulders, not even the hollow ache where her heart used to live. All she felt was the weight of 1,000 eyes that had watched her fated mate spit at her feet and walk away. "You're a curse, Nara," he'd said, loud enough for the entire Silverpine pack to hear. "The goddess made a mistake binding me to you. I, Caleb of Silverpine, reject you as my mate." The bond had snapped like rotted rope, and Nara had run. Now, deep in the forbidden woods where her parents had died 3 years ago, she knelt before the crumbling shrine they'd once tended in secret. Moss crawled over the stone altar. Moonlight barely reached through the canopy. This place had been sacred once, before the pack declared it cursed, before they blamed her mother's death on dark magic, before they decided that Nara carried the same poison in her blood. Her hands trembled as she pressed them to the cold stone. "Please," she whispered, her voice fracturing. "If you're real, if you ever cared, tell me why. Why did you let them die? Why did you give me a mate who hates me? Why did you make me this nothing?" Silence. Always silence. Nara's chest heaved, and the sob that tore out of her was animal, raw and guttural, and so full of grief it didn't sound like her at all. Tears hit the altar, soaking into ancient grooves carved with symbols she'd never learned to read. "I don't want to be here anymore," she choked out. "I don't want to be this anymore." The forest held its breath. And then, crack. The sky split open. Nara's head snapped up, eyes wide, just as a column of pure silver light slammed down from the heavens and consumed her whole. Hey, beautiful souls. Before we go any further into Nara's story, and trust me, what happens next is going to wreck you in the best way, I need to know, where are you watching from? Drop your country or city in the comments. I love knowing where my pack is scattered across the world. Also, how are you doing today? Really. I hope you're taking care of yourself, drinking water, and giving yourself grace. You deserve it. And listen, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. This channel is built on stories like this. Broken people finding power, forsaken souls getting blessed, and love that refuses to quit even when the world says it should. Hit that subscribe button and join the pack. You belong here. Now, let's get back to Nara. Because what's about to happen? No one saw it coming. The light didn't burn. It should have. Nara had heard the stories, how the goddess's wrath was fire and ruin, how her divine touch could melt flesh from bone. But this was different. It was gentle. The silver beam wrapped around her like arms she hadn't felt since her mother died. It sank into her skin, into her bones, into the hollow space where her wolf had always been too weak to speak. And for the first time in her life, Nara felt whole. Her wolf stirred. Not the timid, whimpering thing that had cowered every time Caleb's wolf snarled at her. Not the broken creature that had gone silent the night her parents were found torn apart in these very woods. No, this wolf was awake. And she was furious. "Daughter," a voice said, not out loud, but inside her mind, resonating through every cell. "You have wept long enough." Nara gasped, her body convulsing as power flooded her veins like molten silver. Her bones didn't break, they remade. Her muscles didn't tear, they strengthened. And her scent, the soft, forgettable scent of a low-ranking Omega, ignited. Jasmine. Moonlight. Storm and steel. The kind of scent that made alphas drop to their knees. "They called you forsaken," the voice continued, ancient and feminine and absolutely unyielding. "But I have never forgotten you. I have waited for you to be ready. And now, Nara of no pack, you will rise." The light pulsed once, twice, and then exploded outward in a shockwave that flattened every tree within 100 feet. Nara collapsed onto the altar, gasping, shaking, her body alive with a power she didn't understand. And when she opened her eyes, they glowed. Pure, molten silver. Back at the Silver Pine Pack House, Caleb froze mid-conversation, his hand flying to his chest. What the hell, he choked, stumbling backward. His wolf was howling. Not in rage. In recognition. No, Caleb whispered, horror spreading across his face. No, that's not possible. I rejected her. The bond is gone. But his wolf didn't care about the rejection. His wolf was screaming one word over and over. Mate. Mate. Goddess touched mate. Across the territory, in the obsidian fortress that loomed over the northern mountains, a different alpha stirred. Alpha King Zane had been in a council meeting, listening to reports about rogue activity, when the air in the room suddenly changed. Every wolf present felt it, a ripple of power so profound it made their instincts scream. Zane's head snapped toward the south, his black eyes narrowing. Your Majesty, one of his advisors ventured carefully. Zane didn't answer. He couldn't. Because for the first time in 34 years, since the night the goddess had whispered that his true mate had been stolen from him before he could ever meet her, his wolf was awake. And it was roaring. Find her, Zane said, his voice low and lethal. Now. Nara didn't know how long she knelt there, trembling, her hands still pressed to the altar. Minutes? Hours? Time felt wrong. Fluid. But eventually, she became aware of three things. 1. Her wolf was speaking to her. Not in whimpers or fractured images, but in full, clear sentences. Get up, Nara. We are not prey anymore. 2. Her body felt different. Stronger. Taller. Her senses were so sharp she could hear the heartbeat of a rabbit 2 miles away. 3. She was being watched. Nara's head snapped up, her glowing eyes locking onto the shadows at the edge of the clearing. A man stepped forward. No, not a man. An alpha. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and eyes like molten gold. His scent hit her first, pine, leather, and something wild and untamed that made her wolf purr. You, he said, his voice rough with shock. You're the one. Nara rose slowly, instinct taking over. Who are you? My name is Liam, he said, taking another step closer. And I've been searching for you my entire life. Her breath caught. What? The prophecy, Liam said, his eyes never leaving hers. The forsaken Omega who would rise with the goddess's blessing. The one who would either save us all, or destroy everything. Nara's heart slammed against her ribs. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but even as the words left her mouth, her wolf was whispering, liar. You've always known. You just didn't want to believe it. Liam stopped 3 feet away, his gaze intense. You felt it, didn't you? The moment the goddess touched you. You're not just blessed, Nara. You're chosen. And now every alpha in the territories is going to come for you. Why? His jaw tightened. Because the wolf who claims you controls the future. Nara's first instinct was to run. It had always been her first instinct, when the pack elders cornered her after her parents' death, when Caleb's friends shoved her into the mud during training, when the whispers followed her like shadows through every corridor of the pack house. Run. Hide. Disappear. But her wolf snarled, low and dangerous, and Nara's feet stayed planted. We don't run anymore, her wolf said, and the conviction in that voice, her voice, finally, after years of silence, sent a shiver down Nara's spine. Liam seemed to sense the war happening inside her. He raised both hands slowly, palms out, the universal gesture of peace. I'm not here to hurt you. That's what they all say, Nara shot back, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. Right before they do. Something flickered in Liam's golden eyes, respect, maybe, or recognition. He tilted his head slightly, studying her with an intensity that should have made her uncomfortable. Instead, it made her wolf sit up straighter, preening under the attention. Traitor, Nara thought at her wolf. Realist, her wolf corrected. He's not like the others. Can't you smell it? And she could. Beneath the pine and leather, there was something else, something clean and honest, without the bitter edge of malice she'd learned to recognize in silver pine. But trust wasn't something Nara gave freely anymore. It had been beaten out of her, one rejection at a time. "How did you know I was here?" she asked, her glowing silver eyes narrowing. Liam lowered his hands slowly. "I didn't. Not exactly. My pack, Moonshadow, we're the keepers of the old prophecies. The ones most wolves have forgotten." He gestured toward the crumbling altar behind her. "This shrine? It's one of 7 built by the first wolves the goddess created. When she blessed you, every alpha descended from those first bloodlines felt it." Nara's stomach dropped. "Every alpha?" "Every single one." Liam's expression darkened. "Which means you have maybe 6 hours before this forest is crawling with wolves who want to either worship you, weaponize you, or kill you before you become a threat they can't control." 6 hours, Nara repeated numbly. She looked down at her hands, still trembling, still glowing faintly with residual silver light. "I don't even know what I am now." "Your goddess touched," Liam said simply. "The first in 3 generations. And whether you asked for it or not, you're the most important wolf alive right now." The weight of those words settled over Nara like a shroud. Most important. Her. The girl who'd spent her entire life being told she was worthless, cursed, better off dead. A hysterical laugh bubbled up her throat. "You have the wrong person. I'm nobody. I'm just... Don't." Liam's voice cut through her spiral like a blade. He stepped closer, and Nara's wolf hummed with approval at his nearness. "Don't diminish yourself because it's what they taught you to do. The goddess doesn't make mistakes, Nara. If she chose you, it's because you're exactly who you're supposed to be." Nara wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. But 23 years of being told she was nothing didn't evaporate just because some celestial being decided to throw power at her. "Why did you come here?" she asked quietly. "If every alpha felt it, why are you the first one standing in front of me?" Liam's jaw tightened. "Because I'm the only one who knows what it's like to be hunted for something you didn't ask for." Before Nara could ask what he meant, a howl split the night, distant but closing fast. Then another. And another. Liam's entire body went rigid, his wolf rising to the surface so quickly his eyes flashed gold. "We need to move. Now." "Where?" Nara's heart was already racing, her newly awakened instincts screaming danger. "Somewhere they won't follow." Liam extended his hand toward her. "Trust me. Please." Nara stared at his outstretched palm. Every logical part of her brain said this was a trap. Strange alpha shows up right after she's blessed? Wants to take her somewhere isolated? This was how horror stories started. But her wolf was strangely calm, and beneath the fear, Nara felt something else stirring, something that had been dead for 3 years. Hope. She took his hand. The moment their skin touched, electricity arced between them, not painful, but intense, like touching a live wire made of starlight. Liam sucked in a sharp breath, his eyes widening, but he didn't let go. "What was that?" Nara gasped. "I don't know," Liam admitted, and the wonder in his voice made something in Nara's chest twist. "But we'll figure it out later. Right now, shift." "Can you?" I don't know. I haven't been able to fully shift since my parents died." "Try." Nara closed her eyes, reaching for her wolf the way she'd done 1,000 times before, always met with silence or pain. But this time, her wolf surged forward eagerly, and the shift was effortless. One moment she was human. The next, she was standing on 4 legs, her fur shimmering silver white in the moonlight, her body sleek and powerful in a way it had never been before. Liam shifted beside her, a massive russet wolf with those same golden eyes, and took off running. Nara followed. They ran for what felt like hours, though Nara's new body didn't tire. Every sense was heightened. She could smell the distinct signatures of at least a dozen wolves tracking them, could hear their paws pounding earth miles behind, could taste the electricity of the coming storm on her tongue. Liam led her through terrain she didn't recognize, deep into neutral territory where pack laws held no weight. Finally, he slowed near the entrance to a cave half hidden by overgrown thorn bushes. They shifted back, and Nara was grateful when Liam immediately shrugged off his jacket and handed it to her. Her ceremonial dress hadn't survived the shift. "Thank you," she murmured, wrapping the worn leather around herself. It smelled like him, comforting in a way that should have been alarming. Inside the cave, Liam started a small fire with practiced efficiency. The flickering light cast shadows across his face, highlighting the sharp angles of his jaw, the slight crook in his nose that suggested it had been broken at least once. "You said you know what it's like to be hunted," Nara said softly, sitting across from him. "What did you mean?" Liam was quiet for a long moment, staring into the flames. "My sister," he finally said. "She was goddess touched too. 15 years ago. Was. Past tense. What happened to her?" "The alphas came for her. Just like they're coming for you." Liam's voice was carefully controlled, but Nara could hear the grief beneath it. "My father tried to protect her. So did I. But we were just one pack against everyone. They said she was too dangerous. That her power would upset the balance. So they—" He stopped, his hands clenching into fists. Nara's heart broke for him. "I'm sorry." "I was 15, Liam continued, as if she hadn't spoken. "I watched them tear her apart. Watched my father die trying to save her. And I swore on their graves, on the goddess herself, that if she ever blessed another wolf, I would do whatever it took to keep them safe." "Even if that wolf is a stranger?" Nara asked. Liam's eyes met hers across the fire, and the intensity in them stole her breath. "You're not a stranger, Nara. The moment I felt your awakening, I knew. I don't understand it yet, but I knew." Before Nara could process that, another howl echoed through the night, much, much closer than before. And this one made every instinct in her body scream Alpha King. Liam's face went pale. "That's impossible. He never leaves his territory. Never." "Who?" Nara whispered, though she already knew the answer. "Zane," Liam said grimly. "The Alpha King himself. And if he's here—" He looked at Nara, and for the first time, she saw genuine fear in his eyes. "You're in more danger than I thought." The Alpha King's howl wasn't just sound, it was command. Every wolf within a 10-mile radius would feel it in their bones, an irresistible summons that said kneel in a language older than words. Nara felt her legs tremble, her wolf instinctively wanting to submit to the sheer dominance radiating through that call. But then her own power flared, silver light crackling beneath her skin, and the compulsion shattered like glass. Liam stared at her, shock written across his face. "You resisted him." Nara looked down at her hands, watching the faint shimmer of divine energy dance across her fingertips. "I didn't mean to. It just happened." "No one resists an Alpha King's call," Liam said, his voice hushed with awe and terror. "No one." "Nara, do you understand what this means?" She didn't get a chance to answer. The cave entrance exploded inward, not with violence, but with presence. One moment it was empty. The next, a man stood there, and calling him merely a man felt like an insult to what he actually was. Alpha King Zane was a living weapon. He stood 6.5 feet tall, his body carved from muscle and violence, with black hair that fell just past his collar and eyes so dark they looked like voids. He wore simple clothes, dark jeans, a black Henley, but the power rolling off him made the air itself feel heavier. And he was staring directly at Nara, like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. "You," Zane said, his voice a low rumble that Nara felt in her chest. He took one step forward, then stopped abruptly, his nostrils flaring. "Impossible." Liam moved instantly, placing himself between Nara and the Alpha King. "Your Majesty, I mean no disrespect, but—" "Move." It wasn't loud. Wasn't even particularly aggressive. But the command in that single word made Liam's wolf whimper. To his credit, Liam held his ground, though Nara could see it cost him. Sweat beaded on his forehead, his hands shaking with the effort of resisting a direct order from the most powerful alpha alive. Liam, it's okay, Nara heard herself say. Her wolf was strangely calm, curious, even as she studied the Alpha King. She stepped around Liam, ignoring his sharp intake of breath, and met Zane's bottomless black gaze head-on. What do you want? Something flickered in Zane's eyes, surprise, maybe, that she could speak to him without trembling. Your scent, he said slowly, like he was working through a puzzle. It's wrong. Excuse me. Not wrong. Different. Zane took another step closer, and this time Nara's wolf did react, but not with fear. With interest. You smell like jasmine and moonlight. Like storm and steel. He stopped abruptly, his jaw clenching. Like the mate I was promised 34 years ago. The cave went silent except for the crackling fire. That's not possible, Liam said hoarsely. She's 23 years old. She wasn't even born 34 years ago. I know. Zane's eyes never left Nara's face, and she felt pinned by the intensity of his stare. The goddess came to me on my 16th birthday. Told me my true mate had been chosen, but that I wouldn't meet her until the time was right. That I would know her by her scent, a scent that didn't exist yet in this world. His voice dropped to something almost reverent. And then tonight, I felt the awakening. Felt power tear through the realm like lightning. And beneath it, I smelled you. Nara's mind was reeling. This couldn't be real. She was nobody, cursed, broken, rejected. The idea that the most powerful alpha in existence had been waiting 3 decades for her was insane. You're wrong, she whispered. I already had a mate. Caleb. He rejected me 6 hours ago. Zane's expression went cold, the kind of cold that made glaciers look warm. He what? He rejected her in front of the entire Silver Pine pack, Liam supplied, his voice tight. Called her cursed. Said the goddess made a mistake. The temperature in the cave dropped 10 degrees. Frost literally formed on the stone walls as Zane's power leaked out, his wolf rising so close to the surface that his eyes began to glow obsidian black. Caleb of Silver Pine, Zane said quietly, just signed his own death warrant. No. Nara stepped forward without thinking, her hand landing on Zane's arm. The moment she touched him, that same electric sensation from earlier with Liam arced between them, but this was different. Stronger. It felt like touching the heart of a star. Don't. He's not worth it. Zane looked down at her hand on his arm, then back up at her face, and something in his expression cracked. You're defending him. After what he did to you. I'm not defending him. I'm just... Nara struggled to find words. I've seen enough death. I don't want to be the reason for more. Merciful, Zane murmured, and the way he said it sounded like a prayer. Of course you are. He lifted his hand slowly, telegraphing the movement, and gently tucked a strand of silver-white hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered against her cheek. I've waited so long for you. Nara's breath caught. This close, she could see that his eyes weren't pure black. There were flecks of silver in them, like stars in a night sky. And his scent, God, his scent was overwhelming. Pine and smoke and something wild and ancient that made her wolf practically purr. I don't understand any of this, Nara admitted. 6 hours ago, I was nothing. And now you're telling me I'm, what? Your mate? After 34 years. The goddess works in her own time, Zane said softly. But yes, you're mine. You've always been mine. I just had to wait for you to become who you were meant to be. Okay, but can we talk about the tension right now? Drop a comment if you're Team Liam or Team Zane, because this love triangle is about to get complicated. And make sure you're subscribed, because you do not want to miss what happens next. Behind them, Liam cleared his throat. Your Majesty, with respect, Nara doesn't belong to anyone. She's goddess-touched. She gets to choose her own path. Zane's eyes slid to Liam, and the Alpha King's expression hardened back into something dangerous. You presume much, Moonshadow Alpha. I presume nothing, Liam said evenly, though Nara could hear his wolf whimpering under the weight of Zane's attention. I'm stating fact. She's not a prize to be claimed. No, Zane agreed, surprising them both. She's not. She's so much more than that. He looked back at Nara. Which is why I'm not commanding you. I'm asking. Come with me. Let me protect you. Let me show you what it means to be truly valued. She's already under my protection, Liam interjected. Your protection? Zane's laugh was sharp and humorless. You couldn't even protect your own sister. Liam flinched like he'd been struck, all the color draining from his face. That's enough, Nara snapped, shocked by the authority in her own voice. Both alphas turned to stare at her, and she drew herself up straighter. I don't know either of you. And right now, I don't belong to anyone but myself. Zane inclined his head slightly. Fair enough. But Nara continued, hating how her voice shook. Liam's right. You said I have maybe 6 hours before every alpha in the territories comes for me. I need help. I need answers. And I need. She never got to finish that sentence. A new voice cut through the night, female, sultry, and dripping with malice. How touching. The forsaken little Omega finally gets some attention. Nara spun toward the cave entrance, where a woman now stood. She was stunning, tall and statuesque, with flame-red hair and amber eyes that glowed with predatory hunger. She wore leather armor that looked both ceremonial and deadly, and the power radiating from her made Nara's wolf bristle. Ivy, Zane said flatly. What are you doing here? The woman Ivy smiled, revealing teeth that were just a bit too sharp. The same thing you are, obviously. Claiming what's mine. Her eyes locked onto Nara. Hello, little goddess touched. I'm Ivy, alpha of the Bloodfang pack. And you're coming with me. Like hell she is, Liam growled. Ivy's smile widened. Oh, Liam. Still playing hero? How did that work out for your sister again? She tilted her head mockingly. Oh, right. It didn't. Liam lunged. But Zane was faster. The Alpha King moved like liquid shadow, intercepting Liam mid-leap and slamming him against the cave wall hard enough to crack stone. Control yourself, Zane hissed. Ivy laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Always so dramatic, boys. But here's the thing, she pulled something from her belt. A collar. Silver, covered in runes that pulsed with sick green light. The council has already made their decision. Any goddess-touched wolf is too dangerous to roam free. So either she wears this willingly, or I put it on her corpse. Her choice. Nara's blood ran cold. What is that? Nullification collar, Ivy said cheerfully. Blocks divine power. Turns you back into the pathetic little Omega you were 6 hours ago. She took a step forward. So what'll it be, sweetheart? Slavery or death? Nara looked between Liam, pinned to the wall, fury and helplessness warring on his face, and Zane, whose entire body was coiled like a spring, murder written in every line of him. And Ivy, advancing with that cursed collar. Her wolf snarled. Neither. We choose neither. And for the second time that night, Nara's power exploded. Silver light erupted from her body like a supernova, sending everyone flying backward. Ivy shrieked, the collar clattering from her hands. Zane caught himself against the cave wall, his eyes wide with shock. And Liam. Liam was staring at her like she'd hung the moon. When the light faded, Nara stood in the center of the cave, breathing hard, her eyes blazing pure silver. I choose freedom, she said, her voice layered with something divine and terrible. And anyone who tries to take it from me will learn exactly why the goddess chose the forsaken Omega. The silence that followed Nara's declaration was deafening. Ivy was the first to recover, pushing herself up from where she'd been thrown against the cave wall. Blood trickled from her temple, but her amber eyes were blazing with something that looked disturbingly like excitement. Well, she purred, wiping the blood away with the back of her hand. The little Omega has teeth after all. Nara's hands were still trembling, silver light flickering beneath her skin like trapped lightning. She had no idea what she'd just done, only that some primal instinct had taken over, and her body had responded. The power was still there, coiled in her chest, waiting. Hungry. Good, her wolf said with satisfaction. Let them fear us. Zane straightened slowly, his dark eyes never leaving Nara's face. Unlike Ivy, he didn't look angry. He looked impressed. You're untrained, he observed. That burst could have killed all of us if you hadn't instinctively controlled it. I didn't control anything, Nara admitted, her voice shaking. I don't even know what I did. Exactly my point. Zane took a cautious step toward her, hands visible, movements careful. You're a nuclear weapon that doesn't know how to disarm itself. And every wolf in the territories just felt that power spike. His jaw tightened. We need to leave. Now. All of us. I'm not going anywhere with you, Ivy spat, finally retrieving her collar from where it had fallen. The runes were cracked now, green light sputtering. The council. The council, Zane interrupted, his voice dropping to something lethal, can take their orders and choke on them. I am the Alpha King. My authority supersedes theirs. And I say this wolf is under my protection. Liam finally peeled himself off the wall, shaking rock dust from his hair. Your protection? She just proved she doesn't need anyone's protection. She proved she has power, Zane corrected. Not control. There's a difference. He looked at Nara again, and something in his expression softened. I've seen goddess-touched wolves before. If you don't learn to control this, it will consume you. Or worse, someone will find a way to use it against you. Nara wanted to argue, but her wolf was strangely silent, considering his words. And deep down, she knew he was right. That explosion had felt like grabbing a live wire, exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. What if next time she hurt someone she didn't mean to? What if she became the monster Silverpine always said she was? Teach me then, Nara said quietly. If you know so much about goddess-touched wolves, teach me. Zane's eyes flashed. Come to my territory. I have resources, trainers, ancient texts. Absolutely not, Liam cut in sharply. Your territory is a fortress, Zane. If she goes there, she'll never leave. You'll lock her away for her own protection and turn her into a weapon for the crown. You think I would? Zane's power flared, making the air pressure drop. I think you're a king first and everything else second, Liam shot back, refusing to back down even as his wolf whimpered. I think you've been waiting 34 years for your mate, and now that you've found her, you'll do whatever it takes to keep her. Even if that means caging her. Zane's silence was damning. Nara looked between them, feeling like a rope in a tug-of-war she hadn't agreed to play. Stop. Both of you. She pressed her hands to her temples, trying to think through the chaos. I need time. I need to figure out what the hell I am before I make any decisions about who to trust. Time is a luxury you don't have, Ivy interjected, her voice dripping with false sympathy. Every alpha within 5 territories felt that power surge. They're coming, little Omega. And they won't ask nicely. She gestured to her broken collar. The council gave me this because they're terrified of you. Of what you represent. And what's that? Nara asked, though part of her didn't want to know the answer. Change. Ivy's smile was sharp. The wolf hierarchy has been the same for 1,000 years. Alphas rule. Betas serve. Omegas submit. But you. She laughed. You're an Omega with the power to bring alphas to their knees. You're a revolution waiting to happen. And the ones in power? They'll kill you before they let that revolution start. The words hit Nara like a physical blow. She'd never thought about it that way, never considered that her existence might threaten the entire social order. She'd just wanted to survive. To find a place where she belonged. So, what are you suggesting? Nara asked warily. That I go with you instead? I'm suggesting, Ivy said, her tone shifting to something almost genuine, that you stop letting these alpha males tell you what to do. You want to learn control? Fine. But learn it on your terms. Not locked in Zane's fortress. Not hidden away in Liam's little rebellion. Forge your own path. It was good advice, Nara realized. Dangerously good. Which made her immediately suspicious of Ivy's motives. Before she could respond, a howl echoed through the night, closer than before. Then another. And another. A whole pack, moving fast. Silverpine, Liam said grimly, his nostrils flaring. Caleb's father leads the hunting party. Nara's blood ran cold. Alpha Marcus was Caleb's father, a brutal, traditional wolf who'd made it clear after her parents died that she was only tolerated in the pack because killing her outright would have been poor optics. If he was coming himself. He's not coming to talk, Nara whispered. No, Zane agreed darkly. He's coming to eliminate a threat. And he'll have council approval to do it. Then we fight, Liam said, his wolf rising to the surface. There are 30 wolves in that party, Ivy pointed out. Even with an alpha king, a rebel alpha, and whatever I am, she gestured vaguely at herself. We're outnumbered. I won't run, Nara said suddenly, surprising herself. Her wolf was in full agreement, hackles raised, ready for blood. I'm done running. I've been running my whole life. Nara, Liam started. No, she cut him off, something fierce and unbreakable rising in her chest. They called me cursed. Worthless. They blamed me for every bad thing that ever happened to Silverpine. And then Caleb rejected me in front of everyone like I was nothing. Her hands clenched into fists, silver light crackling around them. If they want to come for me, let them come. But I'm not the scared little Omega they remember. Zane was looking at her with something that might have been pride. You're sure about this? No, Nara admitted. But I'm sure I'm tired of being afraid. Then we make a stand, Zane said decisively. He looked at Liam. Truce. Liam hesitated for only a moment before nodding. Truce. For her. Even Ivy shrugged. I suppose watching Silverpine wolves get their asses kicked could be entertaining. Count me in. They moved to the clearing outside the cave, where they'd have room to maneuver. Nara could feel them now, the hunting party, getting closer with every second. 30 wolves. 30 against 4. Terrible odds. But Nara wasn't alone. Zane stood to her right, power rolling off him in waves. Liam was on her left, his golden eyes blazing with protective fury. And even Ivy had positioned herself at Nara's back, a smirk playing at her lips. When this is over, Liam said quietly, we need to have a serious conversation about what happens next. Agreed, Zane rumbled. But first, we survive. The trees at the edge of the clearing rustled, and then they emerged. 30 Silverpine wolves, all shifted, all radiating hostility. And at the front, a massive gray wolf with silver markings, Alpha Marcus himself. He shifted back to human form, his weathered face twisted with disgust as he looked at Nara. Omega, he spat the word like a curse. You've caused enough trouble. The council has declared you a threat to pack stability. Surrender yourself and your death will be quick. And if I don't? Nara called back, amazed her voice didn't shake. Marcus smiled, cold and cruel. Then we make an example of you. And everyone who stands with you. Nara felt Zane tense beside her, felt Liam's wolf snarl, felt Ivy's anticipation spike. And beneath it all, she felt her own power rising, responding to the threat, hungry to prove that she was no longer prey. I have a better idea, Nara said, stepping forward. Silver light began to glow beneath her skin, brighter with each word. You turn around. You go back to Silverpine. And you tell Caleb, tell everyone, that the cursed Omega they threw away. She let her eyes blaze pure silver. She's not cursed. She's blessed. And she's done being your victim. Marcus's lip curled. Defiant to the end. How predictable. He looked at his pack. Kill them. Kill them all. 30 wolves lunged. And Nara's power exploded like a supernova, lighting up the night sky. The first 3 wolves never made it within 10 feet of Nara. Silver light erupted from her body like a tidal wave, slamming into them with the force of a freight train. They flew backward, crashing into their packmates, yelping in shock and pain. But Nara barely registered it. She was lost in the power, the way it sang through her veins, the way it answered every drop of rage and grief she'd buried for 3 years. Yes, her wolf growled, fierce and wild. Show them what we are. Zane moved like death incarnate, his massive black wolf form tearing through silver pine warriors with brutal efficiency. He wasn't trying to kill, not yet, but every wolf he touched went down hard and stayed down. Liam fought with a different style, all speed and precision, his russet wolf dancing between enemies like a blade. And Ivy? She fought like she was having the time of her life, laughing as she ducked and weaved, her red wolf leaving claw marks across anyone stupid enough to get close. But it was Nara they couldn't touch. Every time a wolf lunged for her, that silver light flared, and they were repelled. It wasn't conscious, she had no idea how she was doing it. The power just protected her, like it had a mind of its own. Alpha Marcus shifted back to human form, his face purple with rage. What are you waiting for? She's one Omega. Take her down. 6 wolves rushed her simultaneously, trying to overwhelm her defenses. Nara's vision went white. When it cleared, all 6 were on the ground, unconscious, silver burns marking their fur. And Nara was standing in the center of a perfect circle of scorched earth, breathing hard, her entire body glowing like a fallen star. The remaining silver pine wolves backed away, whimpering. Impossible, Marcus breathed, his eyes wide with something that might have been fear. You're just an Omega. You're nothing. She was never nothing, a new voice said, cold and commanding. Everyone froze. A woman stepped out of the shadows at the edge of the clearing, and the sheer presence of her made every wolf present, even Zane, instinctively lower their heads. She was ancient. Nara could feel it in her bones. Ancient and powerful in a way that had nothing to do with physical strength. She wore flowing robes of deep purple, her silver hair cascading down her back, and her eyes, God, her eyes were opalescent, shifting colors like the northern lights. High Priestess Evelyn, Marcus said, his voice suddenly uncertain. I didn't know the temple was watching. Evelyn finished, her tone sharp. The temple is always watching, Alpha Marcus. Especially when fools try to destroy what the goddess herself has blessed. She walked forward, and the silver pine wolves parted before her like water. Did you really think you could attack a goddess-touched wolf without consequence? Marcus's jaw worked. The council said. The council, Evelyn interrupted, does not speak for the goddess. I do. She stopped in front of Nara, studying her with those strange, shifting eyes. Hello, child. I've been waiting a very long time to meet you. Nara's wolf had gone completely still, instinct screaming that this woman was important. Who are you? I am the High Priestess of the Moon Temple, the goddess's voice in the mortal realm. Evelyn reached out slowly, her fingertips barely brushing Nara's cheek. And you, sweet girl, are the answer to a prophecy that's 300 years old. The clearing went silent. What prophecy? Zane demanded, moving to Nara's side. His protective instinct was palpable. Evelyn's lips curved into a small smile. The prophecy of the silver wolf. Most believe it was lost to time, but the temple remembers. She turned to address everyone present. 300 years ago, the goddess spoke to my predecessor. She said that when the wolf packs had forgotten their purpose, when power had corrupted them, when alphas ruled with cruelty and omegas were treated as less than dirt, she would send a champion. An omega blessed with divine power. One who would either restore balance or burn the whole system down and let something new rise from the ashes. Nara felt like the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. I'm not a champion. I'm just the daughter of the last temple keepers, Evelyn said gently. Yes, Nara. Your parents weren't simple pack wolves. They were mine. They served the temple, protected its secrets. And when they discovered that you were the prophesied one, they went into hiding to keep you safe until the right time. No, Nara shook her head, tears burning her eyes. No, my parents died in a rogue attack. Everyone said. Everyone lied. Evelyn's voice turned hard. Your parents were murdered, child. By wolves who discovered what you were and wanted to prevent the prophecy from coming true. She looked at Alpha Marcus with contempt. Wolves from Silver Pine. Marcus's face drained of color. That's a lie. We had nothing to do with. I have their names, Evelyn said coldly. 3 of them are standing in this clearing right now. The temperature dropped 20 degrees. Nara's power surged, wild and uncontrolled, as 3 years of grief and rage and unanswered questions suddenly had a target. Who? Nara said, her voice layered with divine fury. Who killed my parents? Evelyn pointed. The gray wolf with the scar on his shoulder. The brown wolf missing her left ear. And Alpha Marcus himself, who ordered it done. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Nara screamed, a sound of pure anguish that shook the trees, and her power detonated. I need a moment because this reveal just broke my heart. Comment if you think Nara should get her revenge, and subscribe because this story just went to a whole other level. Zane and Liam both lunged for Nara, trying to contain the explosion of power, but it was Evelyn who acted first. The High Priestess threw up a shimmering barrier that absorbed the worst of the blast, though even she staggered under its force. Nara. Liam's voice cut through the chaos. I know you're hurting, but if you kill them like this, in rage, without control, you'll regret it forever. They murdered my parents. Nara sobbed, silver tears streaming down her face. They took everything from me. And they'll answer for it, Zane growled, his eyes locked on Alpha Marcus with lethal promise. But not like this. You're better than them, Nara. Don't let them turn you into a monster. Nara wanted to scream that she didn't care about being better. She wanted blood. She wanted justice. She wanted her parents back. But slowly, agonizingly, she pulled the power back. It fought her, hungry for vengeance, but she forced it down until she could breathe again. When she finally looked up, Marcus and his 3 conspirators were on their knees, held down by Zane's and Liam's combined Alpha command. High Priestess, Marcus begged, please, I was following orders. The council said the prophecy was dangerous, that the child would. So you admit it, Evelyn said quietly. You murdered 2 temple keepers and orphaned their daughter because you were afraid. We were protecting the natural order. You were protecting your power, Evelyn corrected. And now you'll face the goddess's judgment. She looked at Nara. By temple law, the right of judgment belongs to the wronged party. The choice is yours, Nara. What would you have me do with them? Everyone was staring at her. The remaining silver pine wolves, watching to see if she'd become the monster they always said she was. Liam, silently pleading with her to choose mercy. Zane, his expression unreadable but his posture screaming that he'd support whatever she decided. And Ivy, looking fascinated by the whole situation. Nara looked at the 3 wolves who'd torn her world apart. At Marcus, who'd let her suffer in his pack for 3 years, knowing what he'd done. She thought about her mother's laugh, her father's gentle hands, the life she could have had if these wolves hadn't stolen it. I want the truth, Nara said finally, her voice hoarse. All of it. Who gave the order? Who else knew? And why? Her voice broke. Why did the goddess let them die if they were protecting me? Evelyn's expression softened with something like grief. Your parents knew they were walking into a trap that night. But they went anyway, because they'd received word that someone had discovered the location of the first altar, the place where you'd eventually be blessed. They died protecting that secret. Protecting you. Nara's legs gave out. Liam caught her before she hit the ground, his arms strong and steady around her. They chose you, Evelyn continued gently. Over their own lives. Over everything. Because they believed in the prophecy. Believed you would be strong enough to carry this burden. I'm not, Nara whispered. I'm not strong enough. You are, Liam said fiercely, his face close to hers. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Nara. And you don't have to carry this alone. He's right, Zane added, kneeling beside them. Whatever you decide, whatever path you choose, I will stand with you. I swear it. Even Ivy crouched down, her expression surprisingly serious. For what it's worth, little Omega. Your parents would be proud of the wolf you've become. Nara looked at the 3 of them, these powerful wolves who barely knew her but had fought beside her anyway. Then she looked at Evelyn. I won't kill them, Nara said slowly. but I want them exiled, stripped of their ranks. And I want everyone in the territories to know why. She looked at Marcus with steel in her silver eyes. I want the truth to be heard. So no one else has to grow up wondering if they're cursed when they're actually just inconvenient. Evelyn inclined her head. It will be done. She gestured, and silver chains materialized around the 3 guilty wolves. They'll stand trial before the full temple council, and the truth will be made public. Marcus's face twisted with hatred as the chains bound him. You think this changes anything? You're still an Omega. Still weak. This power won't last forever, and when it fades, Nara interrupted, standing with Liam's help, I'll still be more than you ever were. Because I choose kindness over cruelty, truth over lies, and mercy. She let her eyes glow silver one more time, over the revenge you deserve. Evelyn smiled. Spoken like a true champion. As the high priestess prepared to transport the prisoners, she paused and looked back at Nara. One more thing, child. The blessing you received? It's permanent. But it's also incomplete. What does that mean? It means there are 2 more altars. 2 more trials. And if you survive them all, Evelyn's eyes glowed with ancient knowledge, you'll become something this world hasn't seen in a millennium. A true Alpha Omega. A wolf who can challenge the moon goddess herself. And with that cryptic statement, she vanished, taking the prisoners with her. The remaining silver pine wolves fled the moment the high priestess vanished. Nara watched them go, feeling hollow. She'd gotten answers more than she'd ever hoped for, but they didn't fill the void where her parents should have been. If anything, knowing the truth made it worse. They died protecting her, and she hadn't even known. Hadn't been able to say goodbye. Hadn't been able to tell them she loved them one last time. Nara. Liam's voice was soft, careful. We should move. The power you've been throwing around is like a beacon. More wolves will come. She nodded numbly, but didn't move. Couldn't move. The adrenaline was fading, and in its wake was a crushing exhaustion that went bone deep. Zane studied her with those dark, penetrating eyes. She's going into shock. The blessing is consuming her energy faster than her body can replenish it. He moved closer, and before Nara could protest, he swept her up into his arms. We need to get her somewhere safe. Now. Put me down, Nara said weakly, but she didn't fight. She didn't have the strength. My pack has a safe house 2 miles north, Liam said. Remote. Warded against tracking. We can. No, Ivy's voice cut through, sharp with urgency. The temple knows about all the Moon Shadow safe houses. If Evelyn decides Nara is more useful as a temple prisoner than a free agent, that's the first place she'll look. The High Priestess is on our side, Liam argued. Is she? Ivy's amber eyes glinted. She just revealed that Nara is supposed to become something powerful enough to challenge the moon goddess herself. You think the temple is going to let that happen without control? Without oversight? She shook her head. Evelyn showed up to save Nara tonight, sure. But it wasn't altruism. It was recruitment. Zane's arms tightened fractionally around Nara. Then she comes with me. My fortress has wards even the temple can't break. Your prison, you mean, Liam shot back. The moment she's behind those walls, she becomes your captive. Your weapon. I would never. Wouldn't you? Liam stepped closer, his golden eyes blazing. You've waited 34 years for your mate, Zane. You really expect us to believe you'd let her walk away if she wanted to? The tension between them crackled like lightning about to strike. And Nara, still cradled in Zane's arms, felt something inside her chest crack. Stop, she whispered. Then louder, with the last of her strength. Stop. Both alphas froze. I can't, Nara's voice broke. I can't do this. I can't be what everyone wants me to be. I can't be your mate, or your weapon, or your revolution, or your champion. I'm just so tired. Silver tears spilled down her cheeks, and where they landed on Zane's skin, they left faint glowing marks. Zane looked down at her, and something in his expression shattered. What do you need? He asked quietly. Tell me what you need, Nara, and it's yours. I need to not exist for a while, she admitted. I need everyone to stop wanting pieces of me. She couldn't finish. The sobs came too hard, 3 years of suppressed grief finally breaking through. Liam's face twisted with pain. This is my fault. I shouldn't have pushed. He ran a hand through his hair. I just wanted to keep you safe. We all did, Ivy said, surprisingly gentle. But maybe safe isn't what she needs right now. Then what? Zane demanded, looking between them. What does she need? Before anyone could answer, Nara's body convulsed. The silver light that had been glowing beneath her skin suddenly flared bright enough to blind, then vanished completely. Her eyes rolled back, and she went completely limp in Zane's arms. Nara! Liam lunged forward, pressing his fingers to her throat. Her pulse is erratic. Zane, what's happening to her? Zane's face had gone pale. Power burnout. She used too much too fast without training. Her body is shutting down to protect itself. He looked at Liam with something close to panic, an expression Nara would have bet the Alpha King had never worn. If we don't stabilize her in the next hour, the blessing will consume her from the inside out. How do we stabilize her? Ivy asked, all business now. She needs to be grounded. Connected to someone strong enough to share the load. Zane's jaw clenched. A mate bond would do it. But since she doesn't have one. She does, Liam interrupted. Or she did. The rejection bond hasn't fully dissolved yet. It takes weeks. His eyes widened with realization. Caleb. We need Caleb to accept the bond again. Absolutely not, Zane snarled. That piece of shit doesn't deserve. It's not about what he deserves. Liam shot back. It's about saving her life. Ivy held up a hand. There's another way. She looked at Zane. You said you sensed her as your mate the moment she was blessed. That means there's a potential bond there, even if it hasn't been accepted. You could forge a temporary connection. Channel some of her excess power through yourself. That could kill him, Liam said flatly. Divine power isn't meant for wolves who haven't been chosen by the goddess. I don't care, Zane said immediately. He was already lowering himself to the ground, settling Nara carefully in his lap. Tell me what to do. Ivy knelt beside them. You have to open yourself completely. No shields, no walls. Let her power flow into you and then release it back to the earth. You'll be a conduit. She met his eyes. It's going to hurt. A lot. And if you lose focus for even a second, you'll both die. I won't lose focus, Zane said with absolute certainty. He looked down at Nara's unconscious face, and his expression softened into something achingly tender. I've waited 34 years for you. I'm not losing you now. He pressed his forehead to hers and opened. Comment, save her if you're emotionally compromised right now. And if you're not subscribed, please hit that button because I need you here for what happens next. The pain was instantaneous and excruciating. Silver fire poured into Zane's body through every point where his skin touched Nara's. It was like being burned alive from the inside out, his wolf howling in agony as divine power that was never meant for him seared through his veins. But he held on. He thought about the vision the goddess had given him when he was 16, a pair of silver eyes looking at him with love he hadn't earned yet. He thought about the empty years, watching his friends and warriors find their mates while he waited alone. He thought about the moment tonight when he'd felt Nara's awakening and known, with soul-deep certainty, that his wait was over. I won't let you go, he thought fiercely. Not to death. Not to fate. Not to anything. Slowly, agonizingly, Nara's color began to return. Her breathing steadied. The dangerous flicker of power beneath her skin settled into something more sustainable. But Zane was fading. Liam saw it first, the way Zane's hands started to tremble, the way his breathing turned ragged. Zane, you need to stop. You've done enough. Not yet, Zane gritted out. Blood was trickling from his nose, his ears. She's not stable yet. You're killing yourself. Then I die. Zane's voice was absolute. But she lives. Ivy cursed under her breath. Stubborn alpha males, she muttered. Then, to Liam, help me. We can create a circuit, all three of us channeling the power. It'll be less strain on him. Liam didn't hesitate. He dropped to his knees on Nara's other side, placing his hand over her heart. Ivy mirrored him, her hand on Nara's forehead. And together, they opened themselves to the divine fire. The power split 3 ways was manageable. Barely. Liam felt it burning through him, felt his wolf whimpering at the foreign energy, but he held on. For Nara. For the girl who'd chosen mercy over revenge. For the strongest person he'd ever met, even if she didn't believe it yet. Minutes passed. Or maybe hours. Time was meaningless in the crucible of divine fire. Finally, Nara's eyes fluttered open. They were silver, but softer now. Controlled. What? She looked around at the 3 wolves surrounding her, all of them bleeding from various orifices, all of them looking at her with relief so profound it was almost painful. What did you do? Saved your life, Ivy said, pulling her hand back and immediately collapsing backward onto the grass. You're welcome, by the way. Liam swayed dangerously but managed a weak smile. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a truck, Nara admitted. Then she looked at Zane, who was still holding her, still looking at her like she was the most precious thing in existence. You're hurt. I'm fine, Zane lied. His eyes were still bleeding. You're not. Nara lifted a trembling hand to his face, wiping away the blood. You could have died. Worth it, Zane said simply. Something passed between them then, something profound and terrifying and inevitable. Nara felt it in her chest, in the place where a mate bond should have been. Not complete. Not accepted. But there. Waiting. Why? She whispered. You don't even know me. I know enough, Zane said. I know you chose mercy when you wanted revenge. I know you protected someone who rejected you. I know you're strong enough to carry a burden you never asked for. His thumb brushed her cheek. And I know that when I felt you awaken, something in me recognized you. Has always recognized you. Tears spilled over Nara's lashes. I don't know if I can be what you need. You already are. Before Nara could respond, a familiar howl split the night, and this time, it made her blood run cold. Caleb. He emerged from the tree line in human form, flanked by a dozen wolves she didn't recognize. But it was the look on his face that made Nara's stomach drop. Not hatred. Not disgust. Hunger. There you are, Caleb said, his voice dripping with false warmth. I've been looking everywhere for you, Nara. My mate. Nara stiffened in Zane's arms. You rejected me. I made a mistake. Caleb spread his hands, stepping closer. I was young. Stupid. But now I see what you really are. What you could be, for the right wolf. His eyes gleamed. Come back to Silverpine, Nara. Be my Luna. Together, we could rule. No. Caleb's friendly mask slipped. That wasn't a request. The dozen wolves with him shifted, forming a circle around the clearing. And Nara realized with sinking dread that these weren't Silverpine warriors. They were mercenaries. The kind wolves hired when they wanted something done quietly. Permanently. The council put a bounty on you, Caleb said conversationally. 50,000 for you alive. 20,000 for you dead. But I figured, why settle for money when I could have power? If I bring you back, if I claim you, Silverpine becomes the most powerful pack in the territories. Over my dead body, Liam growled, forcing himself to his feet despite his exhaustion. Caleb smiled. That can be arranged. Nara felt Zane's entire body go rigid beneath her, his wolf rising so close to the surface that his eyes bled to pure black. But before he could move, she pressed her hand against his chest. Don't, she whispered. You're already weak from channeling my power. You can't. I can always fight for you, Zane said, his voice barely human. Liam was swaying on his feet, Ivy was still recovering on the ground, and Zane had nearly killed himself saving her. They were in no condition for a fight. And these wolves surrounding them weren't like the Silverpine hunting party. These were professionals, hired killers who wouldn't hesitate to rip throats out. Nara looked at Caleb, the wolf who'd stood before their entire pack, and called her a curse. The wolf whose rejection had sent her running into the forest, broken and desperate. The wolf who was now looking at her like she was a prize to be won. And something inside her snapped. Not the frightened, broken snap of a wolf at her limit. This was different. This was clarity. "You rejected me," Nara said, her voice eerily calm as she stood. Zane tried to hold her back, but she gently extracted herself from his grip. In front of everyone. "You spit at my feet and told me I was a mistake. I told you I was. And now you want me back," Nara continued, taking a step toward him. Silver light began to glow beneath her skin, but it was controlled this time. Purposeful. "Not because you care about me. Not because you're sorry. But because I became useful." Caleb's jaw tightened. "Does it matter? We're fated mates, Nara. The bond is still there. You felt it, didn't you? When you almost died just now." He smiled cruelly. "That's why you're still alive. Because some part of you is still connected to me." "You're wrong," Ivy said, pushing herself up to sitting. "She's alive because 3 wolves who actually give a damn about her nearly died keeping her that way. You had nothing to do with it." "Shut up, Bloodfang," Caleb snapped. Then, to his mercenaries, "If anyone interferes, kill them. I'll deal with the council's complaints later." He focused back on Nara. "Last chance. Come willingly, or I take you by force." Nara stopped 5 feet away from him. Close enough to see the calculation in his eyes. Close enough to smell his ambition, acrid and bitter. "You're right about one thing," Nara said softly. "The bond is still there. Barely. Like a thread about to snap." She tilted her head. "Do you know what happens when a mate bond is broken violently? When the wolf who rejected their mate tries to force a claim afterward." Caleb's confidence wavered. "That's a myth." "Is it?" Nara let her power rise, just enough that the air around her shimmered. "My mother was a temple keeper. She taught me the old stories. The true ones." She took another step closer. "When a rejected mate tries to force a bond back into existence, the goddess considers it a violation. A desecration of her gift. And she doesn't forgive desecration." "You're bluffing," Caleb said, but he took a step back. "Am I?" Nara's eyes began to glow. "There's one way to find out. Try to claim me, Caleb. Put your mark on my neck. Let's see what happens when you defile a goddess-touched wolf who's already been rejected by you once." The clearing had gone absolutely silent. Even the mercenaries looked uncertain now. "She's trying to scare you," one of them said to Caleb. "Just grab her and—" The mercenary never finished his sentence. Nara's power lashed out like a whip, wrapping around his throat. "Not choking," warning. "I'm done being grabbed," Nara said, her voice layered with divine authority. "I'm done being told what I'm worth by wolves who wouldn't know value if it bit them." She released the mercenary, who stumbled backward, gasping. "This is what's going to happen. You're all going to leave. Now. And you're going to spread the word Nara of No Pack is under the protection of the moon goddess herself. And anyone who touches her without permission will answer to her." "You can't be serious," Caleb laughed, but it sounded forced. "You're one wolf. One Omega. You think you can stand against—" "She's not alone," Zane said, rising to his feet. Blood still stained his face, but his voice was iron. "She has the Alpha King's protection." "And moon shadows," Liam added, standing despite his exhaustion. "And mine, for what it's worth," Ivy drawled. "Which is more than you'd think." Caleb looked between them, his face flushing with rage. "This is insane. She's mine by right of—" "You gave up that right," Nara interrupted, "when you rejected me. When you called me cursed. When you chose your pride over your mate." Her voice softened, but not with kindness. With pity. "And the saddest part? I would have loved you, Caleb. If you'd given me the chance, I would have been the best mate you could have asked for. But you didn't want a partner. You wanted someone beneath you. Someone you could control." She let the silver light fade from her eyes, standing before him as just herself. No divine power. No supernatural glow. Just Nara. I deserve better than you, she said simply. And it took the goddess herself to make me believe it. So thank you, actually. For rejecting me. For setting me free. Something flickered across Caleb's face, regret, maybe, or the first stirrings of understanding about what he'd actually lost. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by cold fury. You'll regret this, he said quietly. When the council comes for you. When every pack in the territories is hunting you. When you have nowhere left to run, you'll wish you'd accepted my protection. Maybe, Nara agreed. But I'd rather die free than live as your possession. Caleb stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned to his mercenaries. Let's go. She's not worth the hassle. The lie was obvious, he was scared. Scared of what she'd become. Scared of what she might do. And maybe, just maybe, scared of the goddess's wrath if he pushed this any further. As Caleb and his mercenaries disappeared into the forest, Nara felt her legs start to give out. But this time, both Zane and Liam were there to catch her, one on each side. That, Ivy said with genuine admiration, was the most badass thing I've ever seen. Nara laughed weakly. I was bluffing. I have no idea if the goddess actually punishes forced bonds. Neither did he, Liam pointed out, a grin tugging at his lips. That's all that mattered. Zane was looking at her with something that made her chest tight. You were magnificent. I was terrified, Nara admitted. Bravery is being terrified and doing it anyway, Zane said softly. His hand came up to cup her cheek. You stood up to someone who hurt you. You claimed your own worth. That's not just brave, Nara. That's powerful in a way that has nothing to do with divine blessings. Nara felt tears prick her eyes again, but these were different. Not grief or fear or exhaustion. These were healing. What do we do now? She asked quietly, looking between the 3 wolves who'd fought for her. The high priestess said there are 2 more altars. 2 more trials. And until I complete them, She gestured vaguely at herself. Incomplete. Unstable. A walking target. Then we find the altars, Liam said firmly. Together. My fortress has the largest collection of ancient texts outside the temple, Zane offered. If information about the trials exists, it's there. And Ivy said, stretching languidly, know someone who might have insight into where these altars are hidden. For a price, of course. Nara looked at each of them, these powerful wolves who'd somehow become her allies in the span of a single night. An alpha king who claimed she was his destiny. A rebel alpha who'd lost his sister to the same forces hunting her. And a wild-card bloodfang alpha whose motives were still unclear, but whose help had been invaluable. Why are you all doing this? Nara asked. Really? You barely know me. Because you're worth it, Liam said immediately. Because you're mine, Zane added, his voice rough with emotion he didn't bother hiding. Because I'm bored and this is entertaining, Ivy said with a smirk. Then, more seriously, and because maybe I'm tired of watching goddess-touched wolves get destroyed by wolves who are scared of change. Nara felt something settle in her chest, not quite peace, but possibility. For the first time since her parents died, she wasn't alone. She had allies. Maybe even friends. Maybe even something more, though that was too complicated to think about right now. Okay, Nara said, straightening despite her exhaustion. Where do we start? Zane and Liam exchanged a look, some silent communication passing between them. Finally, Liam nodded reluctantly. We go to the fortress, Liam said. As much as I hate to admit it, Zane's library is our best bet for finding answers fast. Agreed, Ivy said. Besides, his wards will buy us time while we research. The council can't touch her there. Zane's expression was carefully neutral, but Nara could see the satisfaction in his eyes. My wolves will ensure no one bothers us. And Nara, he looked at her directly, you have my word. You're a guest, not a prisoner. You can leave whenever you want. Even if you don't want me to? Nara challenged. Especially then, Zane said quietly. I won't cage you, Nara. No matter how much my wolf screams at me to keep you close. You're not a possession to be kept. He paused, searching for words, you're a force of nature. and you don't chain the wind. The poetry of it, from this hard, dangerous man, made something in Nara's chest flutter. All right, she said. The fortress it is. But we move fast. Dawn's coming, and I have a feeling once the sun rises, things are going to get a lot more complicated. They usually do, Ivy agreed cheerfully. As they prepared to leave, Nara cast one last look at the clearing where she'd almost died. Where she'd been saved by wolves she barely knew. Where she'd faced down her former mate and won. I'm not that scared Omega anymore, she thought. I'm becoming something new. Something stronger. Finally, her wolf said with satisfaction. Finally, you see what I've always known. We were never weak, Nara. We were just waiting for permission to be powerful. I'm done waiting for permission, Nara thought back. Good, her wolf said. Because the real fight is just beginning. The obsidian fortress lived up to its name. Carved into the northern mountains like a sleeping giant's fortress, it was all black stone and sharp angles, with towers that pierced the sky like claws. Protective wards shimmered in the pre-dawn light, invisible to most wolves, but Nara could see them now, silver threads woven through the air like a spider's web. Welcome to my home, Zane said as massive iron gates swung open at their approach. Wolves lined the courtyard, dozens of them, all battle-ready, all staring at Nara with expressions ranging from curiosity to reverence to barely concealed fear. She felt their gazes like physical weight, assessing, judging. Eyes forward, Zane commanded without raising his voice, and every wolf immediately looked away. The power in that simple order made Nara's wolf shiver with something between respect and unease. Liam stayed close to her side, his hand occasionally brushing her elbow in reassurance. Breathe, he murmured. They're not going to hurt you. They're terrified of me, Nara whispered back. Good, Ivy said from behind them. Fear means respect. Use it. Before Nara could respond, a woman emerged from the main entrance, tall, elegant, with silver-streaked dark hair and eyes that matched Zane's. She moved with the confidence of someone who'd never questioned her place in the world. Brother, she said, her voice cool and assessing as she took in their battered group. You've been busy. Celine, Zane acknowledged. This is Nara. Nara, my sister Celine. She manages the fortress when I'm away. Celine's gaze locked onto Nara, and something flickered in her expression, recognition, maybe, or calculation. So you're the one causing all this chaos. It wasn't quite hostile, but it wasn't warm either. The goddess touched Omega, who has my brother bleeding from his ears. I didn't ask him to, Nara started. No, I'm sure you didn't, Celine interrupted smoothly. But here we are. Come. You all look like death warmed over, and we have much to discuss. She turned on her heel, clearly expecting them to follow. The inside of the fortress was surprisingly beautiful, less fortress, more palace. Soaring ceilings, intricate carvings in the black stone that caught the light and threw prismatic colors across the walls. But it was the library that stole Nara's breath. 3 stories tall, with bookshelves that climbed toward a domed glass ceiling. Thousands, no, tens of thousands of books, scrolls, and ancient texts. The scent of old paper and magic was overwhelming. This is incredible, Nara breathed. My family has been collecting knowledge for 800 years, Zane said, a hint of pride in his voice. If information about the remaining altars exists, it's here. Celine gestured to a cluster of comfortable chairs near a fireplace that roared to life with a wave of her hand. Sit. I'll have food and medical supplies brought. Her eyes lingered on Zane's still bleeding face. And perhaps someone should explain why my brother looks like he went 10 rounds with a divine entity. Because he did, Ivy said, dropping into a chair with zero ceremony. He channeled Nara's power to keep her from burning herself out from the inside. Very heroic. Very stupid. Celine's expression softened fractionally as she looked at her brother. Of course he did. She sighed. I'll get the healers. Try not to die in the next 5 minutes, yes. As Celine left, servants began arriving with trays of food, medical supplies, and fresh clothes. Nara realized with some embarrassment that she was still wearing only Liam's jacket, covered in dirt and blood. "There are rooms prepared," Zane said, reading her discomfort. "You can clean up, rest." "No." Nara's voice was firm. "We need to start researching now. Every minute we waste is a minute someone else is hunting for those altars." She looked around at her unlikely allies. "The High Priestess said there are 2 more trials. We need to find them before the Council does." "The Council already knows where they are," a new voice said. Everyone's head snapped toward the library entrance, where a young man stood, early 20s, with copper hair and sharp green eyes. He wore the robes of a temple scholar, and there was something familiar about the set of his jaw. Liam was on his feet instantly, his wolf rising. "Aiden, what are you doing here?" The young man, Aiden, smiled sadly. "Hello, brother. It's been a while." Nara looked between them. "Brother." "Half-brother," Liam corrected, his voice tight. "Same father. Different mothers." He chose the temple after he stopped abruptly. "After our sister died," Aiden finished quietly. "After I watched the alphas tear her apart and did nothing to stop it." Self-loathing dripped from every word. "I was 12. I was terrified. And I've spent the last 15 years trying to atone for my cowardice." The tension in the room was suffocating. Liam's hands were clenched into fists, his jaw working. "You have information about the altars?" Zane asked, breaking the silence with characteristic directness. Aiden nodded. "I'm a temple scholar. I have access to records most wolves don't even know exist." He looked at Nara, and something in his expression was achingly familiar, the same guilt, the same desperate need for redemption she'd seen in mirrors for 3 years. "The Council has known about all 3 altars for decades. They've been monitoring them, waiting. And when your parents discovered the location of the first altar, the Council ordered their deaths to keep the prophecy from being fulfilled." Nara felt like she'd been punched. "The Council ordered it?" "Alpha Marcus was just the weapon," Aiden confirmed. "The Council feared what you would become. What you could do to their carefully maintained power structure." He pulled a folded piece of parchment from his robes. "But I didn't come here to explain politics. I came to warn you. The Council knows you've been blessed at the first altar, which means they know you'll seek the second and third. And they're setting a trap." "What kind of trap?" Ivy demanded. "The kind where you walk in thinking you're completing a divine trial, and you walk out, if you walk out, as their prisoner." Aiden unfolded the parchment, revealing a detailed map. "The second altar is here, in the Whispering Caverns near the eastern border. The Council has stationed 50 warriors around it, all equipped with nullification collars and divine-resistant armor." 50, Liam breathed. "That's an army." "They're not taking chances this time," Aiden agreed. "They want you contained, Nara. Controlled. And they're willing to kill anyone who stands in their way." Nara stared at the map, at the little mark indicating the second altar. So close, but surrounded by wolves who wanted to cage her. Or kill her. "There has to be another way in," she said. "A back entrance. Something." "There is," Aiden said slowly. "But it's complicated." "How complicated?" Zane asked. Aiden's expression turned grim. "The Whispering Caverns got their name for a reason. They're filled with echo wraiths, spirits of wolves who died violently and were never properly sent to the goddess. They feed on living wolves' energy, drive them mad with visions of their worst fears and regrets. Most wolves who enter through the back passages never make it to the altar. They either lose their minds or get consumed by the wraiths." "But the Council warriors don't have to deal with the wraiths?" Ivy asked skeptically. "The front entrance is warded against them. Has been for a century. But the back passages." Aiden shook his head. "There's no ward strong enough." Silence fell over the group as the implications sank in. Finally, Nara spoke. "I'll do it." "Absolutely not," Zane and Liam said simultaneously, then glared at each other. "It's suicide," Liam continued. "Those wraiths will tear your mind apart." "Then we find another way," Zane insisted. "There is no other way." Nara's power flared, making the air shimmer. "The Council isn't going to stop. They'll keep coming, keep hunting, until they either capture me or kill me. The only way forward is through. She looked at Aiden. What happens if I complete the second trial? What does it give me? Aiden consulted the parchment. According to the prophecy, each trial grants a new ability. The first trial awakened your divine power. The second trial should grant you mastery over your wolf form, complete control over the shift, the ability to take partial transformations, immunity to silver. And the third, Nara pressed. True alpha authority, Aiden said quietly. The ability to command any wolf, regardless of rank. Even alphas would have to obey your orders. The room went deathly silent. No wonder the council is terrified, Ivy muttered. Zane was staring at Nara with an expression she couldn't quite read. If you gain that power, you could reshape the entire wolf world. Or destroy it, Liam added grimly. I don't want to destroy anything, Nara said, frustrated. I just want to survive. To be free. She stopped, suddenly exhausted. I just want a choice in my own life. Zane moved to her side, his presence solid and reassuring. Then we give you that choice. But you don't have to face those wraiths alone. He's right, Liam agreed reluctantly. If you're going into those caverns, we're going with you. All of us, Ivy confirmed. Aiden cleared his throat. Actually, the wraiths are drawn to pack bonds. The more wolves traveling together, the stronger they become. Your best chance is going in small, 2, maybe 3 wolves maximum. Then it's settled, Zane said with finality. Nara and I will go. Like hell, Liam snapped. You're still weak from channeling her power. You'd be a liability. And you're emotionally compromised, Zane shot back. You're so busy trying to protect her you can't see straight. Both of you, stop, Nara commanded, and to her surprise, they did. The authority in her voice was new, thrumming with divine power. This is my decision. My life. My trial. She looked between them. And I choose, both of you. Nara, Aiden started. I know what you said about pack bonds. But these two have already proven they'll die for me. That kind of loyalty? That kind of connection. She met Zane's dark eyes, then Liam's gold ones. The wraiths can't use it against us if we're not ashamed of it. If we own it. Slowly, understanding dawned on both Alpha's faces. You want to turn our bonds into a strength, not a weakness, Liam said. Exactly. Nara turned to Aiden. When do we leave? The council's trap is set for tonight, Aiden said. They're expecting you to make your move under cover of darkness. Which means, we go now, Nara finished. In broad daylight. When they're least expecting it. Ivy laughed. I like the way you think, little Omega. All right, I'll stay here and coordinate defenses in case the council decides to attack the fortress while you're gone. Celine, who'd returned with healers in tow, nodded approvingly. Smart. We'll be ready for them. As the healers tended to Zane's injuries, Nara found herself alone with Aiden for a moment. The young scholar was studying her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. You remind me of her, he said quietly. My sister, Mira. She had the same look in her eyes, like she was carrying the weight of the world, but refused to break under it. What happened to her? Nara asked gently. Aiden's expression crumbled. They came for her on her 16th birthday. Said she was too powerful, too dangerous. Our father tried to fight them off. Liam tried. But his voice broke. I hid. I watched from the trees as they killed her, and I did nothing. Nara felt tears prick her eyes. You were a child. I was a coward, Aiden corrected. And I've lived with that guilt every day since. That's why I joined the temple. Why I've spent 15 years learning everything I could about the goddess, about the prophecies, about how to prevent another goddess-touched wolf from meeting Myra's fate. He looked at her directly. Don't let my cowardice be for nothing, Nara. Survive this. Complete the trials. Become what she never got the chance to be. I'll try, Nara promised. That's all any of us can do. An hour later, Nara stood at the fortress gates with Zane and Liam, freshly washed, fed, and dressed in travel-appropriate clothes that Celine had provided. The sun was high overhead, and the forest stretching toward the eastern border looked deceptively peaceful. "Are you ready?" Zane asked quietly. Nara thought about her parents, dying to protect her destiny. About Mira, torn apart for the crime of being blessed. About all the goddess-touched wolves throughout history who'd been destroyed before they could fulfill their purpose. "No," she admitted. "But I'm going anyway." Liam squeezed her hand once, quickly. "Whatever happens in those caverns, whatever the wraiths show you, remember it's not real. Hold on to that. And remember," Zane added, his dark eyes intense, "you're not alone. Whatever demons we face them together." Nara nodded, drawing strength from their presence. Then, together, the three of them shifted and ran toward the rising sun, toward the whispering caverns, toward the second trial that would either make her stronger or destroy her completely. The journey back to the obsidian fortress felt different than the desperate flight toward the whispering caverns. Nara walked between Zane and Liam, not as someone being protected, but as an equal. The second trial had changed her in ways she was still discovering. She could feel her wolf more clearly now, the connection between them seamless and perfect. When she'd shifted experimentally on the path, the transformation had been effortless, painless, like slipping into water. But it was more than just physical changes. Something fundamental had shifted in how she saw herself. "You're quiet," Liam observed, his golden eyes studying her with concern. "Just thinking," Nara said, a small smile tugging at her lips. "About how much has changed in less than 48 hours. 48 hours ago, I was in my fortress alone," Zane said quietly, "believing I'd never meet the mate the goddess promised me. Now—" He looked at her, and the emotion in his dark eyes made her breath catch. "Now I understand why I had to wait. You were worth every single year." Nara felt heat rise to her cheeks. The potential mate bond between them hummed stronger now, especially after what they'd shared in the caverns, the vulnerability, the trust, the way he'd believed in her even when she'd doubted herself. But when she glanced at Liam, she saw the same intensity, the same devotion. He'd faced his sister's death in those wraiths' visions, had been forced to relive his greatest failure, and he'd still chosen to protect Nara above his own pain. "I don't know how this is supposed to work," Nara admitted softly. "The goddess showed me that both of you are connected to my path somehow. But I won't choose based on what's expected or convenient. I need time to understand what I feel. What's real. Then take it," Zane said immediately. "Take all the time you need." "We're not going anywhere," Liam added, his hand finding hers and squeezing gently. The fortress came into view as the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the black stone in shades of gold and amber. But something was different. Wolves lined the walls, not in defensive positions, but in what looked like celebration. "What's going on?" Nara asked as the gates swung open. Celine stood in the courtyard, a rare smile on her face. Behind her were Ivy, Aiden, and dozens of wolves Nara didn't recognize, all of them watching her with expressions ranging from awe to hope. "Word has spread," Celine said as they approached. "About what you did at the second trial. About how you chose mercy for the wraith who'd murdered your parents. About how you emerged stronger, but not harder." She gestured to the assembled wolves. "These are refugees from packs where omegas are treated as less than dirt. Where questioning alpha authority means death. They've heard about the goddess-touched omega who's fighting for a different kind of world, and they want to help." Nara stared at the sea of hopeful faces, suddenly overwhelmed. I'm just trying to survive. I'm not a leader." "You're exactly what we need," a young Omega woman said, stepping forward. She couldn't have been more than 19, with scars crisscrossing her arms that spoke of abuse. "You're proof that we don't have to accept the world as it is. That we can fight for something better. The council fears you because you represent change," Aiden added. "But these wolves? They hope in you for the same reason." Nara looked at Zane and Liam, searching for guidance, but both of them were watching her with something like pride. "What do you want to do?" Zane asked quietly. What did she want? A week ago, she would have said she just wanted to be left alone. To find a quiet corner of the world where no one knew her name or her shame. But standing here, looking at wolves who'd risked everything to come here based on nothing but hope. I want to finish what I started, Nara heard herself say. The third trial. And then, she took a deep breath. Then I want to use whatever power the goddess gives me to make sure no Omega ever has to feel the way I felt. Worthless. Disposable. Less than. The courtyard erupted in howls of approval, not of dominance or aggression, but of hope and solidarity. Over the next few days, the fortress transformed into something unprecedented, a sanctuary where rank didn't determine worth, where Omegas trained alongside Alphas, where new ideas about pack structure were discussed openly. Nara found herself at the center of it all, not as a ruler, but as a symbol. Ivy proved invaluable, using her connections to gather intelligence on the Council's movements. Aiden spent hours in the library, searching for information about the third trial. And Zane and Liam worked together, awkwardly at first, then with growing respect, to organize defenses and training. The third altar, Aiden announced one evening as they gathered in the library, is in the most dangerous location of all. The Shadow Peak Summit, the highest point in the territories, where the barrier between the mortal realm and the spirit realm is thinnest. How dangerous are we talking? Ivy asked. The last wolf who attempted to reach it died of exposure halfway up the mountain, Aiden said grimly. And that was without the council trying to stop them. Then we prepare, Nara said with more confidence than she felt. We train. We plan. And when the time is right, we make our move. Zane's hand found the small of her back, grounding. Together. Together, Liam echoed. As the meeting dispersed, Nara found herself alone in the library, staring at a map of Shadow Peak Summit. The third trial. The final test. And then you become something the world has never seen, her wolf said. Are you ready? I don't know, Nara admitted. But I'm not the broken Omega who knelt at that altar anymore. I'm not defined by Caleb's rejection or Silverpine's cruelty. You're exactly who you're meant to be, Zane's voice said from the doorway. He entered slowly, his dark eyes soft in the firelight. Strong. Compassionate. Fierce. Everything I could have hoped for and more than I deserved. Nara turned to face him fully. Zane. I know you need time, he interrupted gently. I know you need to figure out what you feel, what you want. And I'll wait. I've waited 34 years, I can wait as long as you need. He stepped closer. But I need you to know, whatever you decide, whoever you choose, I will stand with you. Because you're not just my potential mate, Nara. You're my friend. My ally. Someone I respect more than I can express. Tears burned Nara's eyes. Thank you. When Zane left, Liam appeared, as if they'd coordinated. Maybe they had. I won't make grand declarations, Liam said, leaning against the doorframe. I just want you to know that whatever happens, third trial, council, whatever comes next, I'm in this. Not because of a mate bond or destiny, but because you're worth fighting for. Worth believing in. Nara crossed to him, surprising them both by pulling him into a hug. You helped me see that I'm worth fighting for, she whispered. That's everything. That night, Nara stood on the fortress battlements, looking out at the territories spread beneath the stars. Somewhere out there, the council was plotting. The third trial waited. The future remained uncertain and dangerous. But for the first time since her parents died, Nara felt something she'd thought she'd lost forever, hope. Not the desperate, fragile hope of a victim wishing for rescue, but the fierce, burning hope of a warrior ready to fight for a better world. We're going to change everything, she whispered to the night, to the goddess, to herself. And deep in her soul, she felt the goddess's approval, a warm pulse of divine power that said, yes, my daughter. You will. The prophecy wasn't about destruction or salvation. It was about transformation. And Nara of No Pack, goddess-touched Omega warrior survivor, was ready to become exactly what the world needed. Not a destroyer. Not a savior. but a catalyst for change. Hey, beautiful souls. Please subscribe and drop a comment telling me, are you Team Zane or Team Liam? Or do you think there's room for something completely unexpected? I read every single comment, and your energy fuels these stories. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in Nara the way she's learning to believe in herself. Until next time, stay fierce, stay hopeful, and remember, you're never as powerless as they want you to believe.